Today, we're going to be working in my workbook called Esther, which is on the full book of Esther, and it's one of the most enjoyable books to teach and to study. It is quite a good book. Um, by the way, there is basically people believe that it is Mordecai who is listed in the book as the writer of this, but we don't know for sure who actually wrote the book. But Mordecai is credited for it. He's the one with the most information. So, looking at the table of contents, we've already completed the first two chapters. And basically, the first chapter is where the problem starts. Uh, King Xerxes, through his drunkenness and makes a rash decision to have Queen Vashti come to a banquet of men, and she refuses. So all the men of the royalty decide that she can no longer be queen, and she can no longer be in the presence of the king. And that works for a while, but pretty soon King Xerxes wants to have a new queen. So they do a beauty pageant of all the ladies, all the virgins in his kingdom, which is 127 provinces. They're all brought in as beauty pageants, part of the beauty pageant. And the bad part about this is they're all swept up. Doesn't matter who they are, as long as they're single, they're swept up and taken, and they will never be able to be released again because they're then part of his harem. So it's both good and bad for the ladies that are part of the harem. If you had a horrible, difficult life, this gives you a lot of luxuries you wouldn't have had. But if you're engaged, or if you love someone, that's over. You're never going to see any other man except the king, whether you actually ever see him or not. So Esther becomes queen. She goes through the whole year of beauty treatments, and the king really loves her, and so he makes her the queen, and they have a banquet and these things. Um, at the end of this, we have an interesting situation that you wonder why it's in the book of Esther, but you will find out later, where Mordecai, Esther's uncle, um, or cousin, I think it's cousin. Yeah, cousin, I'm sorry. Esther's cousin, who had raised her, um, overhears a plot to assassinate the king. So brings that information to Esther. Now, nobody knows Mordecai and Esther are related, and nobody knows that she is Jewish in the royal kingdom. So she then brings that to the king, and it's found out, and those two are hung, or um, we'll leave hung. And Esther gives the credit to Mordecai, and it's written in the annals of the king. The reason why I say at first this seems strange is nothing comes of it at this point in time. However, it's important for later in the story. So anyway, we now come to chapter 3, which is the introduction of the evil guy of the story. Haman's plot, Esther 3, verses 1 through 15. After these events, King Xerxes honored Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, elevating him and giving him a seat of honor higher than that of all the other nobles. As we soon discover, this is 5 years later. So Esther's been queen for 5 years. Who did King Xerxes honor? Haman, son of Hammedatha. There's no evidence as to what Haman was honored for. We really don't know what he was honored for. Who was Haman's father? Hammedatha, the Agagite. Agagite. Yeah, I guess that's right. An Agagite means that Haman was related to Agag, who was the king of the Amalekites. The Amalekites were longtime enemies of the Israelites because when the Israelites were traveling the 40 years in the wilderness, the Amalekites attacked them and were therefore cursed by God. King Saul was supposed to exterminate all Amalekites in 1 Samuel 15, 1 through 20, but he did not do as God instructed. As you read Haman's story, realize that if Saul had done as he was instructed, Haman would not exist. What family, clan, or group is Haman from? The Agagites. How did Haman's seat of honor compare to the other nobles? It was higher than any of the other nobles. Who were the Amalekites' longtime enemies of? Israelites. Who was supposed to have killed all the Amalekites? Saul, King Saul. Would Haman have existed if Saul had done what God wanted him to do? No. Therefore, the story wouldn't have existed. Therefore, Esther may not have had to be queen. All the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to Haman. So the king had commanded this concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor. So Mordecai, remember, Mordecai is the cousin to Esther. And although it doesn't say here, he's one of the nobles of the kingdom. You have to assume that through all the things he's able to do. What did the royal officials do when Haman walked by? They knelt down and paid honor to Haman. Had King Xerxes commanded this? Yes. Who did not kneel down or pay Haman honor? Mordecai. Based on your knowledge for the prior page, why would Mordecai not pay honor to Haman? Mordecai did not pay honor to Haman because Mordecai's Jewish, and Haman is from the family of his archenemy, or their archenemy. Do you think this upset Haman, and why? Yeah, it would upset Haman, most probably, and because everybody is paying him honor except Mordecai. Then the royal officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the king's command?" Day after day they spoke to him, but he refused to comply. Therefore they told Haman about it to see whether Mordecai's behavior would be tolerated, for he had told them he was a Jew. Who first asked Mordecai why he did not bow when Haman walked by? The royal officials. How do we know this happened for several days before the royal officials did anything about it? It says day after day they spoke to him. What was the only reason Mordecai gave for his behavior? That he was Jewish. Who did the royal officials eventually go to about Mordecai's refusal? Haman. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor, he was enraged. Yet, having learned who Mordecai's people were, he scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. How did Haman feel about Mordecai not bowing down when he walked by? He was enraged by it. What did Haman learn about Mordecai? That he was a Jew. Instead of killing Mordecai, what did Haman want to cause? The death of all the Jews in the kingdom. Do you think Haman remembers the historical story of what Saul, the first king of the Jews, were supposed to do to Haman's family? Why or why not? I think so, because he's enraged against all the Jews and not just Mordecai. So I think that's true. How big is the kingdom of Xerxes? It's from Cush all the way over through Egypt, from the Aegean Sea down to Ethiopia, India, Egypt, Mediterranean Sea, Ethiopia, or Cush. In the 12th year of King Xerxes, in the first month, the month of Nisan, the pur, that is, the lot, was cast in the presence of Haman to select a day and a month. The lot fell on the 12th month, the month of Adar. So remember now, Hebrew months are based on the full moon, the cycle of the moon. So there's 28 days in a Hebrew month. That's why Adar 2, if you see there, is it basically catches up. So you divide 365 by 28 days, you're not going to have yet an even number. So they catch up on Adar 2 so that it doesn't recycle as fast as it would normally do for 28 days. In the year of King Xerxes' reign, what year did Haman cast a lot? The 12th year. What happened in the third year of King Xerxes' reign? That's when he had his banquets and stuff. What happened in the seventh year of King Xerxes' reign? That is when uh, um, Esther was picked as queen. Sorry. What happened in the, okay, we did the seventh year. What does the Jewish month of Nisan compare to in our months? Okay, Nisan, where are you, Nisan? March and April. Okay. Based on the pur, what Jewish month is the killing of Jews to occur? Um, the 12th month, the month of Adar. I don't know who made this list of the Hebrew months that I have over here, but technically the first month of their year is Nisan. So that's why I'm not sure why this was set up the way it was. Um, what does the Jewish month of Adar correspond to in our months? February, March. How many months is there from Nisan to Adar? Okay, so there should be uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so 12. So basically, it says the 12th month, and first month, 12th month. So technically 11 months or 12 months, depending on how you want to count that. Then Haman said to King Xerxes, there is a certain people dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will give 10,000 talents of silver to the king's administrators for the royal treasury. Does Haman tell King Xerxes which group of people he's talking about? No, he doesn't. Completing the sentence in number 2, their customs are different from those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. What is Haman asking King Xerxes to do? Destroy that whole group of people. What is Haman willing to do if King Xerxes does issue a decree to destroy this group of people? I'll give 10,000 talents of silver. Based on how Haman presents his case, do you think King Xerxes believes it's a good decree? Based on how he presents the case, he does believe it's a good decree. He trusts Haman because he's brought him up to the top honor. So the king took his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. Keep the money, the king said to Haman, and do with the people as you please. Instead of just stamping the decree with his ring, King Xerxes does what? He gives his ring over to Haman, gives him blanket authority. Handing over his signet ring is like handing over his personal authority. The stamp from his ring approves all laws and verifies that a letter or message is really from the king. What does the king tell Haman about the money Haman has offered? Keep the money. We don't need it. Then King Xerxes says something very surprising regarding this group of people. What was it? Do with the people as you please. At this point, does King Xerxes or Haman know that Queen Esther is Jewish? No. At this point, does Haman know that Mordecai is directly related to Queen Esther? No. Then on the 13th day of the first month, the royal secretaries were summoned. They wrote out in the script of each province and in language of each people all Haman's orders to the king's satraps, the governors of the various provinces, and the nobles of the various peoples. These were written in the name of King Xerxes himself and sealed with his own ring. What was the first month, the Jewish month called? Nisan. What day of the first month were the royal secretaries summoned? The 13th day of the first month. What words let us know that there are several languages spoken in the realm of King Xerxes? script of each province and language of each people. Haman's orders went out to three types of leaders. They are satraps, governors of various provinces, and nobles of the various people. What would make these people think this decree was instigated by King Xerxes? It was sealed by his own ring. Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality so that they would be ready for that day. Complete the sentence. Dispatches were sent with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day. What date was this single day? The 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. If the months have 30 days, how many days from the date of dispatch and the kill date? The dispatch date was 13th day of the first month, so basically 11 months. Once it became law, can King Xerxes reverse it? Remember about the laws and the Medes and the Persian? Nope. How do you think the Jewish people feel about this new law? Well, they're obviously very, very upset. Very upset. The couriers went out, spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. Why were they bewildered? Because the king has always been a fairly nice king. And now all of a sudden he issues this decree that all Jews are going to be killed. Um, they were pretty upset. So here we come to the end of this chapter. So what is the name of the month that Haman cast the pur or the lot? One, Nisan. Who did King Xerxes honor? Number four, Haman. Better have this in front of me just in case. Just in case. Who did not bow down to Haman? Number six, Mordecai. Seven, Mordecai did not bow down to Haman because Mordecai was a what? A Jew. Two down. What family clan is Haman from? Agagite. Is that what I have? Yep. What year of King Xerxes' reign did Haman cast his lot? In the 12th year. What is the name of the month the assassination was to happen? Adar. Okay, that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.